Alright, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to take a look at the Commander Legends precons, the pre-constructed decks. The purpose of this video is to give you a brief overview of each of the deck's themes and strategies so you can buy the deck that best suits your playstyle. And if you want to see the full deck list, I will leave them in the description. I will leave a link to the official announcement deck list reveal page thing, so feel free to look over them yourself, but I want to give you just an overview of what they do. So first off, we'll take a look at the Reap the Tides deck, which for the commander has this card. Look, okay? There are multiple correct ways to pronounce this, and I don't know which is the technically correct way. I don't know how Wizards of the Coast technically wants us to pronounce this, so it doesn't matter how I pronounce it because there's multiple correct ways, so it's a lose-lose for me. So it's this is the commander. Anyway, it says that we get to play an additional land on each of our turns, and whenever we play a land, we get to draw a card. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, it's another landfall deck. We've had multiple of those recently. They keep printing landfall decks, but landfall decks are normally Naya, or at the very least they're a green-red, right? Maybe white, but generally not Simic. And it's true, looking at the deck list, this is not a landfall deck. It's actually much closer to like a Tadiova deck, in that your goal here is going to be to play lands to draw cards so that you never run out of gas. The idea is, if you top deck a land, well hey, just play it, draw another card. You are technically going to be ramping because you can play multiple lands per turn, but the idea is draw through your lands so you can constantly have a stream of threats and you'll have lots of lands to cast those big giant threats. So you're going to be ramping and drawing cards, but the goal isn't necessarily to trigger landfall. The goal is going to be to just have lots of mana, draw lots of cards, so you can play a lot of big giant massive creatures. So it does play some landfall things. It plays Avenger of Zendikar, it plays Rampaging Ballast, it plays Spore Mound, and all of these, again, give the impression of a landfall deck. All trigger when we play lands and they produce tokens, and it does work well with the strategy because we are going to be playing lots of lands. But this is basically it for the landfall. And we also have, by the way, we have lots of ways to search for lands. We have Cultivate, we have Kadama's Reach, we have Rampant Growth, all great at triggering these landfall creatures, also great at triggering our commander. Keep in mind that our commander says whenever we play a land, whenever a land enters the battlefield actually, we get to draw a card. So if we play Cultivate with our commander in play, not only do we get those 2 lands, we get to draw 2 cards. So that's actually very powerful, and we get to play extra lands. So let's say we top deck a Cultivate, we can play that, get 2 lands, draw 2 cards. We still haven't played a land yet, and we can play 2 lands. So if we draw 2 cards from our 2 lands that we just played with Cultivate, we get to play both of those as well and draw 2 more cards. So that's kind of the idea here. Yes, there are some landfall cards. Yes, there are rampy cards that you would expect in a landfall deck, but the idea is just draw through lands so we constantly have threats. Ideally, we never have a dead turn because we're either drawing a land which is going to let us draw into another threat, or we're going to draw mana ramp stuff that will let us draw cards and get more stuff. We just want to get more stuff in our hand. Another thing that we can do, Meliku is crazy with our commander. We can pay 1, return a land, and then replay it to draw a card. Basically, we tap 1, we return that land that we tapped, and then we replay it. That's a card draw. And we could do that twice per turn if we have our commander. So twice per turn, we get to draw cards, we get 2/1/1 tokens. It's card draw, right? That's what we're doing. We are drawing tons of cards by playing our land. And to take advantage of all this, we have Molomo, which has power and toughness equal to our land count, which can be pretty huge. But speaking of huge, we need to talk about the other sub-theme of this deck. We're drawing lots of cards, we're ramping, but the payoff for doing so is we're playing Krakens and Leviathans. You see our commander? This is the theme of the deck. We have Scourge of Fleets, Shipbreaker Kraken, Stormtide Leviathan. These things are massive, and this is what the deck actually wants to do. It's not a landfall deck, it is a ramp into this crap deck. It's all about ramping, drawing, making sure we have tons of lands, making sure we draw tons of cards so we can play stuff like this. And there's plenty more. We have Nezahal, we have Tromocratus, we have Slin Voda, we have giant, monstrous Krakens and Leviathans. Lots of them. More too. Simic Sky Swallower. I'll put them on screen. Lots of just big, giant, massive Leviathan. And we also get removal in the form of Meteor Golem, Acidic Slime, Terastodon, all of which are pretty expensive, but in our deck that's not too much of a problem. So, Meteor Golem expensive, but it's a removal spell that gives us a 3/3. Terastodon is actually kind of spicy, so the best use of this is obviously to blow up all of your opponent's best things and just leave them with a 3/3, which are going to be way smaller than your stuff, so it's not a big deal. But another fun thing, the deck also plays this that allows us to play stuff from our graveyard, allows us to play lands from our graveyard. So a fun thing that you can sometimes do with this is blow up your own lands. If you have your commander and these two cards, right, you play Terastodon, you blow up 3 of your own lands, you put 3 3/3s on your own side of the battlefield, and then you can replay 2 of those right away and draw 2 more cards. And next turn, you can play the other one from your graveyard, draw another card. So for Terastodon, you put 18 power on board, and you get to draw 3 cards over 2 turns. Basically, that's not the best use of the card. Generally, you just want to blow up your opponent's stuff. That's something that can happen. But anyway, suffice it to say, the deck is for those who want to ramp and draw. It's a blue-green deck that cares about lands. It's very Tatiova-ish. You want to ramp, you want to draw, and then you're going to be playing a whole bunch of big crap. I didn't even talk about everything, but generally speaking, you've got big stuff, you're drawing a lot, that's the idea. So moving on to the next deck, we have Arm for Battle. This is a Boros deck with Wylith, Soul of Steel as the commander, which is much easier to pronounce. He's a 3-mana 2/2 that will allow you to draw a card for every aura or equipment attached to him when he attacks. So this is probably self-explanatory. The goal of this deck is to load your commander up with all the equipment you have. You want to enchant him with all the auras you have, and then you want to swing at your opponents, deal tons of damage, and more importantly, draw a bunch of cards. So you can load them up with more equipment and more enchantments. So starting off with auras, you get things like On Sarah's Wings, Faith Unbroken, Unquestioned Authority. On Sarah's Wings is just a great enchantment. Gives you tons of bonuses. You get flying, very important. So you get evasion, you get lots of power. Faith Unbroken is a pseudo removal spell. So being able to play that, remove something, pump your commander, and then that's an extra draw when you attack, is pretty great. Unquestioned Authority gives protection from creatures, so that allows you to attack with your commander and not worry about it being blocked in combat. Doesn't matter if your opponent has a frickin' 12/12, it has protection from creatures, so it doesn't matter. You also get Sigard's Aid, which allows you to attach equipment to Wylith when you play them without paying their equip cost, which is just more efficient. Being able to play your equipment and not have to worry about the equip cost is great. And some of those equipment that you're going to be playing are things like Swiftfoot Boots, Blackblade Reforged, and Loxodon Warhammer. The boots are actually very important. It might not look that impressive. Very important because it grants hexproof, so you don't have to worry about your commander being hit with a removal spell. Having that on your commander means you can load him up with as much equipment as you can or enchantments, and you don't have to worry about someone just saying, alright, I'll pay 2 and kill it. Doesn't happen, gonna have hexproof, so that's nice. The Black Blade is very powerful, giving him a ton of power and toughness, and it is cheap to equip since you're equipping it to your commander. And I just like Loxodon Warhammer. I don't know, it's a cool card. +3/+0, lifelink, great, love it. Also gives trample, but I like lifelink. What can I say? The deck also has Sunforger, which is a powerful equipment, gets +4/+0, but it allows you to unattach it to find a red or white instant card that costs 4 or less. Now, there are a ton of great instants and sorceries in this deck, but the most important and the most useful is cards that protect your commander. Remember, you are a little bit vulnerable because the goal is to put all of your stuff on one creature, which is scary. So you get things like Boros Charm, Dawn Charm, Valorous Stance. All of these can protect your commander. The Boros Charm and the Stance grant indestructible, and Dawn Charm can regenerate. So not only are these just in the deck to protect your commander, but Sunforger can tutor them up, which is pretty useful. And there's more stuff too. There's things like Deflecting Palm and Wild Ricochet, which can redirect spells and redirect damage. Multiple ways to just protect your commander, keep him alive. Other things you can search up though, removal, you get things like Swords to Plowshares, Generous Gift, and tons of enchantment and artifact hate. We're in white, we're in red, we can blow up enchantments and artifacts easily, and you can tutor all of them up with Sunforger, which is pretty useful. And we haven't even talked about some of the other creatures in the deck. SRAM, Danitha, and Relic Seeker all like equipment just as much as your commander does. SRAM will allow you to draw even more cards. Danitha can be equipped if necessary if your commander tax gets too high. Relic Seeker can search for equipment, so all perfectly great, work well with the strategy. We also get Tiana and Ironclad Slayer. They're here to help if your opponent tries to blow up your best equipment. Tiana will return it immediately, and the Slayer will allow you to return your best stuff from your graveyard. We also get like Odric. Odric will spread all the keywords that Wylith gets to the rest of your creatures. And that's the general idea. There are things that we didn't go over. There's lots of really cool spells, but generally speaking, the Armed for Battle deck is all about getting Wylith down on the board, loading him up with all of the enchantments and artifacts that you can, swinging like a crazed maniac, and not worrying about what happens since you'll be refilling your hand anyway. If you play Wylith and you load 4 pieces of equipment or auras on him, you are at risk of having all that stuff just go away when he gets killed, but you have multiple ways to protect him. You can give him hexproof, you can give him indestructible, and if you attack once, then you're going to draw 4 cards. So that's the general idea. The idea is you're going to be playing Wylith, you're going to be making him huge, you're just going to be, you're going to be like a sledgehammer, you're just going to throw a bunch of damage at someone, draw a bunch of cards, and there's a chance that he'll be removed, but sooner or later you're gonna just load him up again. You're just gonna make a big swing. Again, you're a big giant swinging sledgehammer when you're playing this deck. You're not gonna be super interactive, but you're gonna build up this commander, and you're just gonna be making big giant haymaker swings, and then maybe taking a turn or 2 to rebuild, and then taking a big giant haymaker swing again. And if no one can answer it, if no one has a removal spell, then holy crap, that's scary. So that's the idea behind Wylith. It's kind of like a high risk, high reward deck, but fortunately the card draw will offset some of the risk of having your commander removed, because at least you'll, fill your hand with more gas. So that's the idea, guys. Those are the decks. Reap the Tides, Armed for Battle. Those are the 2 Commander Legends precons. Let me know which one you are more excited about. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.